so much, Jamie. Thank you all so much for being here. Beautiful Wednesday evening here. So as Jamie said, my name is Justin Kelleher. I'm a registered yoga teacher here with Yoga Hub. I'm so glad to be here. So for today's practice, we're going to do a classic Vinyasa practice. We'll be practicing for about an hour. And in this practice, really the most important thing is for you to just be really aware of what's happening in your body. So everything that I'll have to offer for you today is just an offering. So if anything doesn't feel good for you mentally, physically, emotionally, for any reason, anything doesn't feel good, you're welcome to back off of it, encouraged to back off of it, and find something that might work for you. As far as props, we won't need any props, but if you have some yoga blocks, those would be helpful to have nearby. Also, if you have sensitive knees, it might be nice to have a blanket that you can lay out across your mat. And that can just be nice if you have a hard floor or sensitive knees. I certainly have sensitive knees. So you can lay your mat or lay a blanket across the back of your mat, and that'll just give you a little bit of extra support. And so you can begin today by facing the top of your mat. And you can come to sit down on your shins, or you can sit on in a cross-legged seat or sit up on a yoga block. And whichever works best for you, a nice comfortable seat that you can be in for the next several minutes. And so you can rest your hands down on your lap. You can close the eyes or let the eyes be heavy. And begin to just tune into the breath. Really just taking a moment of quiet to switch gears from wherever it was that you were here or before you were here and to this time that you're here on the mat. And sit down really firmly down into whatever you're sitting into and reach up through the top of your head. Notice if the jaw is clenched and unclench the jaw. Notice if the shoulders are drawn up to the ears and relax them down the back. And just slowly beginning to observe the breath, just noticing how the breath fills the body today. Maybe you observe the length of the inhales and the exhales. So take one big breath in through your nose, and then one long breath out the mouth. So now take an inhale and take both of your arms up alongside your ears. And you reach up through the fingertips. And as you exhale, turn your torso over to the right. You can bring your left hand to the outside of the right thigh and just take a nice gentle twist here early in practice. Not the deepest twist ever. Just beginning to wake up the spine. You can take your gaze off to the right, maybe over the right shoulder. Just being here for a couple rounds of breath, using the inhale to get taller. Maybe with the exhale, you find a little bit more softness in the shape. One more round of breath here. And on your next breath in, release the hands, release the twist, sweep both arms back up alongside the ears. And then to the other side, as you exhale, turn the torso over to the left, bring the right hand to the outside of the left thigh and take a nice gentle twist with the torso facing over to the left. And here, using the inhale as a tool to maybe sit up a little bit taller, using the exhale to maybe find a little bit more softness, a little bit more space. We're still early in practice, not forcing anything. Just listening to how far the body wants to twist. And take one more round of breath here. And then release the twist, take both arms up alongside the ears, and then exhale them back down into the lap. Just take one round of breath here just to notice if you can sit up just a little bit taller than you did when you were here before. And then when you're ready, plant your hands underneath your shoulders and come into a tabletop pose. And so here again, if you find that the knees are sensitive, you can lay out a blanket. You're always welcome to change up your posture, change up your shape, anything that works for you. So in tabletop, just make sure that the wrists are stacked about in line with the elbows, about in line with the shoulders. Same with the knees, just below the hips. And we're looking to create some nice strong pillars. And draw the spine out really long. So reach out through your tailbone and reach out through the top of your head. Spread your fingertips really wide. And as you inhale, arch your back, find cow pose, arch the back, pull your collarbones through, your gaze comes forward. And then exhale, push the ground away, round the back, find cat pose, and chin comes in towards the chest, really draw the shoulder blades apart. Again, just like that, inhale, arch the back, collarbones come forward, gaze is forward, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose, round the back. And so begin to flow with this, working at your own breath pace, using the inhale to arch the back, using the exhale to round down into cat pose. And feel free to get fun with this, so you can take little dips with the shoulders, really make it your own. You can push back a little bit towards child's pose. You need to work through the spine, just noticing if you have any tension up in the upper shoulders, anywhere in the spine. Just being really aware of what's happening in the body. A few more rounds of breath, exploring. And then come to find stillness, find a long, neutral spine, reaching out through the top of the head and reaching back through the tailbone. Walk your hands just about an inch forward and tuck your toes and push your hips up and back into downward facing dog. And so in the first downward facing dog of the practice, you're welcome to pedal out the feet, stretch out on the backs of the legs. Maybe you dip the shoulders like you just did in cat and cow. Really press down through the hands and reach up through the sit bones. And if downward facing dog feels like it's too much, you're always welcome to take child's pose or tabletop in place of any downward facing dog anytime throughout practice. And take a big breath in and sweep your right leg up back behind you. And you can bend the right knee and then open up the hip, just to open up the hip and take a couple little circles with the right knee, really gentle. And then take those circles back in the other direction. One breath in to lift the right leg up a little bit higher. And then exhale, look forward, step your right foot towards your right thumb and drop the back knee coming to a lunge. I'm taking just a moment here with the knee dropped, with the hands down to frame the front foot. Really notice how you can press your feet down into the mat, make a really strong foundation. And build all these shapes from the ground up. So find the foundation, press through the feet, press down through the shin of the left leg. And then slowly walk yourself up to bring your hands onto your hips so that you're in an upright lunge. So again, just going to continually check in with finding a foundation and building this from the ground up. So press into the front foot, press into the shin, and hug your legs together, and maybe you can find a little bit more space. Maybe you can get a little bit taller through the spine. And big breath in, get really tall. And exhale, turn your ribs over to the right. Left hand comes to the outside of the right leg. Reach the right arm back, taking a real simple twist in a lunging shape. And this can be as big or as small as you'd like. We'll settle into this for a few rounds of breath. Again, using the inhale to sit up a little bit taller, and then using the exhale to maybe find just a little bit more space. If you're looking to find more space, I'll encourage you to try to find it from the core rather than the press of the left hand into the leg. And sit up a little bit taller. And sweep the right arm down, bring both arms up alongside the ears. And palms can touch, and then bring the palms to the nape of the neck behind you. So the elbows are bent and lifting up to the sky. The hands are touching and at the back of the head. Now bend into the front knee a little bit deeper and lift the chest up, finding a little bit of a back bend, opening up the chest. Again, we're early in practice, so you don't have to push or force anything ever. Stay here for a couple rounds of breath, just noticing what it's like to have the collarbones open. Maybe you take your gaze to something unmoving in the top corner of your space. One more big breath in here. And exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot to the back of the mat and push yourself up and back into downward facing dog. One breath in downward facing dog, and then drop your knees down and back into tabletop. You sit back on your shins. I'm going to turn to face you, but you can stay facing the front of the mat. Sit back on your shins and plant your left hand outside of your left leg and take a big breath in to sweep your right arm up alongside your ear. Taking a side bend over to the left, reaching the right fingertips forward. And still grounding down, so ground down through the right hip. Maybe that ground down can help you reach up a little bit further through the right fingertips. Big inhale, come all the way up, both arms by the ears, then use the exhale to plant the right hand outside the right leg. Reach the left arm up and over. Side body stretch on the other side. And sit down through the left sit bone, reach up through the left fingertips. Notice if you can use the breath to find a little bit more space underneath the ribs, through the armpit. Inhale up through center. Exhale, plant your hands back down into tabletop. One inhale here to arch the back, find cow pose. One exhale, round the back, cat pose, draw the shoulder blades apart. Inhale through a long neutral spine. Walk the hands just an inch forward, tuck your toes, and push yourself up and back, downward facing dog. Just take a moment here again to check into your downward facing dog. Press down through your hands, bend into the knees as much as you need to so that you can lift your hips up and back towards the back corner of the room. And take an inhale here, sweep the left leg up back behind you, bend at the left knee, and open up the hip. And so in this shape, you can take some circles with the knee in one direction, and then take those circles back in the other direction. And find stillness, take one breath in to lift the left knee a little bit higher. Then exhale, look forward, step your left foot towards your left thumb, coming to a lunge, tap the back knee down. And take a moment to set yourself up here. So really adjust your foot, adjust your back leg so that you feel really strong and supported down in the mat. And then when you're ready, you can take your hands up to your hips and come into this upright lunging shape. And so you can use the hands on the hips. Almost imagine that the hands on the hips are like a steering wheel. So if you notice your hips are shooting off in one direction or the other, steer them so that both hip points are drawing straight forward towards the top of your mat. And press into the feet and stand up a little bit taller. Reach up through the spine, reach up through the top of the head. Big breath in, get taller. Exhale, turn the ribs over to the left side. Plant your right hand on the outside of the left leg. And take a twist, turning the torso over to the left. You're welcome to reach the left hand back behind you. You can take your gaze out to that. We'll settle in here for a couple rounds of breath. The inhale gets you a little bit taller, and the exhale, maybe you settle a bit deeper into the twist. And sweep the left arm down, bring both arms up alongside the ears, more traditional Anjaneyasana for the low lunge. Hands press it above your head, then bring the pressed hands down to the nape of the neck. Bend firmly down into the left knee, lift up through the elbows, lift up through the chest. Maybe you find a bit of a back bend here in this shape. Noticing what it's like to have the collarbones beginning to open up, beginning to introduce a back bend into the upper spine. Maybe you take the gaze at something unmoving up at the top corner of the room. One more big breath in here. Exhale, plant your hands to frame your front foot, step your left foot to the back of the mat, and come all the way back into downward facing dog. Here in downward facing dog for just one round of breath. And exhale, drop the knees down to the mat and sit back on your heels. And take the side bending again. Plant your right hand on the outside of the right leg. Big inhale, sweep the left arm up and over. And settle in, let the left sit bone be heavy. Maybe you reach further with the left fingers. Inhale back up through center. Exhale, plant the left hand. Reach up through the right fingertips. Sink down through the right sit bone. Maybe you can take the breath underneath the ribs, underneath the armpit. One more big breath in, both arms up. Exhale, plant your hands down into tabletop. We'll pause here. One inhale to arch the back, cow pose. One exhale, push the ground away, cat pose. Walk the hands a print forward, tuck your toes, hips come up and back into downward facing dog. Now taking as many little tiny steps as you can, slowly walk yourself all the way up to the top of the mat. Maybe you come up onto fingertips. If that's helpful, maybe you bend the knees as much as you need to, but take as many little steps as you can, being really deliberate to come all the way up to the top of the mat. And once you arrive at the top of the mat, you can grab a hold of opposite elbows. You can let the head hang. Maybe you take the feet a little bit wider apart. If that feels good, maybe you just let the hands dangle. Just take a moment to decompress the upper back. Let gravity do its work here. Now bring your hands to your shins or your thighs and inhale through a long, flat back. We'll hang out here for just a couple rounds of breath, just to really open up the chest. So you can draw the shoulder blades up towards the ears and then maybe roll them back a little bit. That might help you flatten the back out just a little bit more. Really looking to encourage the front of the chest to open. One more big breath in here. And then exhale, fold, melt yourself down into a fold. Let the head go, let the arms go, be heavy, ragdoll. Now bring the hands to the hips and inhale, hinge yourself from the hips all the way up to stand. Once you're completely standing, you can drop your hands down by your side and we'll find mountain pose. And so I'll turn to face you. You can take the feet just about hips distance apart. It feels different for everybody. Everybody's body is built differently. So about hips distance apart, let the hands fall naturally by the sides. And take your gaze off at something unmoving off in the distance. And rock your weight forward into the balls of your feet, and then back into the heels, then to the outside edges of the feet, and to the inside edges. Maybe with all that feedback, you can make an adjustment on your stance. Maybe you landed perfectly where you want to be the first time. Maybe that experiment helped you find something new. Neither is right or wrong. And engage the fronts of your legs. So you can feel a bit of engagement on the front of your legs. Let the ribs come together so you're standing up really tall and really straight. And take the shoulder blades up to the ears and then roll the shoulders back, drawing the shoulder blades together, and then let the hands rest down naturally. Draw the chin back so the ears are stacked over the shoulders, and then stand up really tall. And so we'll settle in here for a few rounds of breath. This is Tadasana, mountain pose. And so if the mind begins to wander, you can bring it back to aligning the body from the ground up, and the feet, and engaging the legs. Noticing if the pelvic shoots forward or back and working to center it in the mind's eye. You can let the eyes close, you can let them soften. One more deep breath in here, really fill up the belly. And a long breath out through the mouth. And so this shape, this mountain pose, we'll look to find this as we move through the next few postures. We'll move through sun salutation A, Surya Namaskar A. Move through slowly the first couple rounds, then we'll pick up the pace just a little bit. You're welcome to modify anything that doesn't feel good for you. Take a big breath in, sweep your arms up by the ears, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, hinge yourself forward at the hips, coming down, folding forward all the way. Let the head be heavy. Use your inhale here to find that flat back, long spine. Open up the collarbones. Exhale, plant your hands, step your left foot back, then your right foot back into high plank. You're welcome to be in high plank like this, or you can drop the knees. Neither is better than the other. Linger here for one round of breath. Get long through the crown of the head wherever you're working. And then exhale, lower yourself all the way down to the belly for this round. Untuck your toes if they're tucked and press down into the tops of the feet. Bring your hands down by your low ribs. And slowly peel your head and peel your shoulder heads up off the mat, just enough so that you can just begin to introduce the back bend. It doesn't have to be the highest that you can lift them. Press into the tops of the feet, lift up just a bit higher. And exhale, tuck your toes, push your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Again, you're always welcome to take tabletop here. You're welcome to take child's pose here. And no choice is better than the other. And it's important to listen to the body. Notice what choice works best for you today. Wherever you are, tune into the breath in this shape. And take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, bend your knees, make your way up to the top of the mat, forward fold. Use your breath in to find a long, flat back, opening up across the collarbones, lengthening out through the top of the head. And then exhale, hinge yourself back down and fold. And press firmly down into your feet, ground down, then use the inhale to sweep your arms up, Urdhva Hastasana, arms by the ears, your gaze comes up. Exhale, hands come down through heart center, down by the sides, mountain pose. So that's a full round of sun salutation A. We'll take a couple more rounds of that. Inhale, sweep the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward. Half lift on the inhale, lengthen out the spine, open up the collarbones. Exhale, plant your hands, step back right foot, step back left foot into high plank, or you can drop the knees. We'll linger in plank for one breath in to get really long through the spine. One exhale to lower all the way down to the belly again. Untuck the toes if they're tucked, bring the hands down by the low ribs. Inhale, peel the head up, peel the shoulders up, low cobra. Breath out, downward facing dog, hips come up and back. And press into the hands, reach the hips up and back. And breathing into the space under the armpits, along the ribs. And noticing if those side bends maybe created a bit more space here. And tune back into the breath. One more big breath in here, fill up the ribs. Exhale, bend your knees, look to the top of the mat, step, or float, make your way up to the top of the mat. Breath in, halfway lift, long spine, open up the collarbones. Exhale, fold, melt the hips down. Press into the feet, inhale, sweep your arms all the way up, reach up, hands touch maybe. Exhale, hands come down through heart center to the side, mountain pose. Again, breath in, arms by the ears, Urdhva Hastasana. Breath out, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, long spine. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, or you can float down through Chaturanga. One breath in to lengthen, one exhale down all the way to the belly. Untuck your toes, inhale up through cobra pose, or if you're feeling up for it, you can press up a little bit higher, press straighten the arms into upward facing dog, reach up through the top of the head wherever you are. And exhale, hips come up and back for downward facing dog. And taking the gaze at something unmoving. Tuning back into the breath. Finding some silence in this shape. Big breath in. Long breath out, bend the knees, step, step, or float all the way up to the top of the mat. Inhale, half lift, long spine, lengthen out. And exhale, fold, melt the ribs down. Press into the feet, inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Gaze comes up, maybe the palms touch. Exhale, hands down through heart center, mountain pose. We're gonna take one more half round of that. Inhale, arms come all the way up, root down through the feet as you reach up. And exhale, fold, hinge at the hips, melt the ribs down onto the thighs. In breath is the half lift, lengthen out, open up the collarbones. Exhale, plant your hands, step, step back, or float. Lower down. Use the inhale to come up through whatever back bend worked for you. The cobra, the upward facing dog, really listening to the body here. And then the exhale comes up and back into downward facing dog. And so again, steady the breath, steady the gaze. I'll be silent for the next couple rounds of breath. All right, so different this time. Shift yourself forward into a high plank or drop the knees. We're all coming down to lowering all the way down to the belly. Once you arrive, come to stand up on your forearms, coming into Sphinx pose. So your forearms are down, directly down on the mat. Your elbows are just about in line with the shoulders. It's gonna vary for everybody, so experiment, be playful. There's no rules about these postures, just guidelines. And press down through the palms, press down through the forearms, press into the tops of the feet so much that maybe the knees lift up a little bit. So you can make this posture as active or passive as you'd like. If being in this shape doesn't work for you, you're welcome to take a cow pose from tabletop. And pull your collarbones forward, take your gaze out on the horizon, directly out in front of you. So Sphinx pose, pull your collarbones through. There's a back bend here. Press the hands down, press the feet down. And steady the gaze at something unmoving. Maybe use these next few breaths to tune into the back body. Maybe use it to tune into the collarbones opening. Use this shape as a place for observation, a place for listening. Whenever you're done with this, you can plant one hand down and then stack the other one on top of it and drop your forehead down onto it like a little pillow. If you'd like, you can kick the feet up to the sky. Do little windshield wipers with the legs, just rinsing out the lower back. When you're all set with that, you can plant the feet back down, bring the hands underneath the shoulders, and push yourself up and back into downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog or tabletop or child's, wherever you are, make your way all the way up to stand at the top of the mat. And so once you're standing at the top of the mat, again, just check in with the stance. Rock your feet forward, rock your feet back to the outsides, to the insides. Really just checking in with that alignment, making sure that you're standing up really tall and really spacious through the spine, all the way up through the top of the head, really building alignment from the ground up. Moving towards chair pose here. So bend your knees and sink your hips, and then bring your arms up by your ears. So in this shape, you're welcome to keep the feet about hips distance. It might feel nice to bring the toes together to touch. Again, it's different for everybody. Bring your palms together to touch overhead. Take a big breath in. And then exhale, slice the air over to the right. You can hook the left elbow on the outside of the right knee, or you can just take the right hand to the outside of the knee. Just taking a twist here. So the torso is rolling over to the right, whether you have the hand or the hands pressing, whichever variation, just taking a twist. Use a breath in to lengthen out through the crown of your head, and then use an exhale to maybe roll the ribs up just a little bit more. Slowly begin to bring your weight into the right leg and step your left foot to the back of the mat, stepping into a lunge. So you can take one big step, you can take a lot of little steps, whatever works for you. Once you get there, check in, press into your feet, find your foundation, then release whatever twist you have and take your arms up alongside your ears for crescent lunge. And so here, just being mindful of your stance. If you feel like it's too tight, maybe you shimmy the front foot over a little bit. And coming back to the concept of finding the shape from the ground up. So press into the feet, reach up through the fingertips. Take a big breath into all this space, and exhale, bend the elbows, cactus out your arms. Inhale, this time straighten into the front leg and reach your arms up by the ears. Exhale, bend into the knee, cactus out the elbows. We'll do one more just like that. Inhale, straighten the legs, straighten the arms. Exhale, bend into the knee, cactus out the elbows, shoulder blades draw together on the back. So from here, you can lower yourself all the way down to the back knee. You can plant your hands to frame the front foot to get down there. And once you arrive, kick the left heel up towards the left sit bone and take a gentle quad stretch here so you can reach your right hand back for the left foot. If you can't reach it, that's fine. You can just reach back for it. Sometimes it's nice to just kick the left heel in. You're also welcome to take both hands up onto the left foot if that feels like something you're interested in exploring today. And the intent here is to find a little bit of an opening across the left frontal hip point, across the left quad. And just work to keep some mindfulness of the chest being open. It's not necessarily the priority here. And settle into the breath. We're here for a couple more breaths. Big breath in. Exhale, release the foot if you have it. Plant your right hand down and step the right knee back into tabletop. And come to stand up on your shins. If you're on the blanket, you can lay a blanket out if you don't have it. Standing up on the shins, bring your hands to your hips. And so that work that we just did, finding length and tallness in mountain pose at the top of the mat, we're gonna do it again here, but facing this orientation with our knees down. So press into the shins, lift up through the hips, lift up through the ribs, lift up through the top of the head. Notice if the shoulder blades are coming to the ears and drop them back down a little bit. And so you can stay just like this and really work to get tall, or you can take a big inhale here. And exhale, hinge at the knees. Just tip back just a little bit. And then bring yourself back up on the inhale. Plant your hands underneath your shoulders, down into tabletop. Tuck the toes, hips come up and back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, slowly walk the feet all the way back up to the top of the mat. Bring the hands to the hips and then use an inhale to come all the way up to stand. And coming towards chair pose on the other side this time. So bend your knees and sink your hips. And then once you feel like you have a strong foundation, take your hands, arms up alongside your ears. And take a big breath in, palms touch, reach out through the fingers. And then as you exhale, slice the air over to the left, this time hooking right elbow on the outside of the left knee, or you can just take this twist with the hand down on the leg. Neither is better than the other. One inhale to reach the crown of the head forward towards the top of the space. One exhale to roll the ribs up a little bit more. We'll settle in for one round of breath here. Same work. And then slowly begin to bring your weight into your left leg. Step your right foot to the back of the mat. It can be one big step. It can be a lot of little steps, whatever works best for you. Once you get your footing here, set your feet up, feel really strong through your feet, then release whatever twist you have, bring the arms up by the ears, coming into crescent lunge. Press into the feet, hug your legs together, reach up, big breath in, get tall, exhale, cactus out your elbows, draw the shoulder blades together. This time straighten into the front leg as you inhale and reach the arms up. Exhale, bend into the front knee, cactus out the elbows. Last time, inhale, straighten the leg, reach up. Exhale, cactus out the elbows. And so now slowly lower the back knee down to the mat. You can bring your hands down to frame the front foot. Once you arrive there, kick your right heel up towards your sit bone, reach back for it with your left hand. And so again, same variations are on the table. Make a choice that works for you, your body, your energy level today. You can take one hand, you can take both hands. Really working to find a bit of a stretch across the front of the right thigh. Maybe you keep a little bit of that openness through the chest. And settle into the breath. Find something steady to gaze at. And release the leg that you have. Plant your left hand down. This time, tuck your back toe and step your left foot all the way back into downward facing dog. So one time in downward facing dog here, press into your hands, lift your hips up and back. Find as much space as you can through the torso. And then whenever you're ready, you can drop yourself down to your knees into tabletop and sit back on your heels. And so we'll practice a couple rounds of camel pose here. So I'll demo it out one time, and then we'll go through it twice just so that you can, begin to work through this. So you come to stand up on the shins and do that same work that we did. Stand up really tall. You have the option to keep the feet down flat. You can tuck your back toes underneath, or if you have yoga blocks, you can set them up alongside the feet. And so just as we did in Tadasana, you'll come up really tall, get as tall as you can. You'll go so far up that then maybe you begin to settle yourself back down into a back bend. From there, you have the option to drop the hands down, draw the shoulder blades together, puff the hips forward. You can let the head go or keep it as it is. So now that you've seen that, we'll go through that together. So stand up nice on the shins, reach up through the top of the head, hug your legs together, and just be really foundational here. Really make sure that you're setting this posture up. And press into the shins, reach up through the top of the head, use the breath in to find space, get tall, get long. So now you can make the choice about the feet. Maybe you tuck the toes, maybe you keep them flat, maybe you set up the yoga block. Use the inhales here to get up as tall as you can, and then get so high that you slowly begin to let the back settle down into a back bend. It doesn't have to be the deepest thing in the world. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to feel a certain way. Really trusting the body. You can pull the shoulder blades together. Maybe you press the hips forward. You can let the neck go if you'd like. You can keep it active, personal choice. You're taking agency over your practice. On the mat, you have the opportunity to do whatever works for you. There's no judgment. You can come out of this whenever you're ready. And we'll take one more round of that, but before we do, come down into tabletop. We'll rinse that out with one inhale to find cow pose, and then one exhale to round the back, find cat pose. Inhale through that long neutral spine, and then come to stand up on the shins one more time. And so now that you've done this once, you might want to make a different choice. You can take the same choice. Just really be aware, be smart about what you're doing. Make choices that are good for you. Find the foundation, press into the feet, lift up tall, gauge the abs just a bit so that you can reach up through the top of the head. Pick your foot position, reach up tall. big breath in to get you as tall as you can possibly get, so high that the exhale leaves you nowhere to go but back. The hands can come down to ankles, to blocks. You can stay standing directly up too. Be here for just a couple more breaths. Just being aware of the space that you might be creating, whether it's in the ribs, whether it's in the collarbones, whether it's mentally, and honoring wherever it is that you've landed today. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly make your way back up just the way you came, being really intentional, really smart about it. Coming all the way down, hands plant again. This time, one round of cow pose, inhale, and then exhale, push yourself all the way back down into child's pose. Let the head fall heavy. You can take your knees as far apart as you'd like. Let the head fall, let the arms fall. And I'll be silent. Take a few rounds of breath and just listen into the body. And if this feels really nice, you're welcome to stay here. Or if you'd like, you can come to make your way to lie down on the back. If you have the blanket set up, you can move it off to the side. Once you come to lie down on the back, walk the soles of your feet in towards your sit bones, so the heels can come as close to the butt as you can possibly get them. And take your left leg and kick the left ankle up over the right thigh. So you're coming into a figure 4 shape on the back. And I like to keep that toes active. That helps protect the knees if you have sensitive knees. But once you come to this shape, take your left hand and press it into the left hip crease. So actually tractioning the thigh away from the pelvis. If that doesn't feel good, you're welcome to not do it. Beginning to slow the practice. Let the breath settle. So if you're pressing into the thigh, you can release that. Maybe you press into the foot and shift the hips over to the left just a little bit, and then let this whole shape fall over to the right, taking a figure 4 twist on the back. The foot can come all the way down to the mat. If that doesn't feel good, you can uncross the legs and just take a twist that way. Maybe you put a block underneath the foot if the foot doesn't hit the floor, but just taking a twist on the back, something that feels good, something that feels sustainable. Take the arms out into a T shape or into a cactus. And let the left shoulder be really heavy. And direct the breath down deep into the belly. Maybe you begin to let the exhales, let the body settle a little bit heavier into the mat. And slowly with control, bring this whole shape back up through center. And switch the cross of the legs. So plant the left sole of the foot down, cross the right ankle over the left thigh. You're welcome to take the same option here. Maybe you take the right hand and place it on the right thigh, right near the hip. Traction the femur bone away from the pelvis, just creating a little bit of space there. A little bit of space with the hip in this orientation. Letting the body be heavy down. If you have the right hand in the hip crease, you can release that. Press into the foot, and maybe shift the hips over to the right, and then let this whole shape fall over to the left. Taking the figure four twist on the other side, arms can come out into a cactus shape. Maybe they shoot out to the sides in a T shape. You can uncross the legs and stack the knees on top of one another. You could put a blanket between the knees. Wherever you're working, begin to bring the attention to the exhale and let it be just a touch longer than the inhale. And take 3 more deep breaths into the belly. You finished your 3rd round of breath. Bring the shape back up through center. Uncross the legs. Plant the sole of the right foot down. Couple rounds of breath here just to observe what it's like to have the back flat against the mat. I'm working with some back bends today, so just observe what it's like to let the spine fall back into its alignment here on the earth. And then hug both knees up into the chest. Give yourself a big squeeze. You can rock side to side with this. You can rock back and forth. Maybe you grab the outside edges of the feet with the hands and take a happy baby. Whatever feels good for you in these last few postures of practice. It might feel nice to roll around and massage out the back. Feel good to squeeze the legs into the knees to counter all that hip opening, frontal hip points. And then slowly release whatever shape it is that you have. Lie down. And settling the body in for final rest, Shavasana. Being really intentional about how you set yourself up. It might feel nice to take the soles of the feet together and take a butterfly shape with the legs. If you do that, maybe you want to place a block underneath each leg, just so the thighs aren't working too hard. It might be nice to place a blanket over the torso or over the whole body. The weight can feel nice, but it is summer. And as you begin to settle into this shape, just take a moment to notice the body making contact down with the mat. And take a moment to unclench the jaw and release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. And you stick the tongue out. Notice if you're holding any tension. And relax between the eyebrows. Let the eyes close or be heavy, and let the eyeballs settle into the head. And the shoulders are heavy. And the arms and the palms. And the hips. And the ankles. And rest. Shavasana. And slowly begin to bring your attention back to your breath. To introduce small movement back into the body. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Roll out the wrists and the ankles. And one at a time, bend your knees and plant the soles of your feet down on the mat. And carefully roll yourself off to one side and pause there. Just take a moment here on the side just to observe the body. Notice any residual effects that you might be feeling from the practice. And then as you're ready, slowly push your way up to a comfortable seat, keeping the eyes closed or heavy. You're welcome to keep your hands on your lap, or you can draw your hands together at the chest if that's a resonant gesture for you. We'll close practice with A single breath. Sit up tall, reach up through the crown of the head, take up space. And take a long inhale through the nose. A long exhale through the mouth, let it go. Bow the chin down towards your chest and slowly blink your eyes open. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's been an absolute pleasure to practice with you. Thank you to Jamie for having me. It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you again.